Hey everybody, this is Ken the Metal Professor, host of Mostly Metal on WVLP in Valparaiso, Indiana. I'm here with another video where I will lay out my preference rankings and top 10 favorite songs from a band. This week it's Styx, and I'm excited because my show airs Wednesday night and Sunday night, and I'm actually doing this before Wednesday, which means that if you see this video and you want to go listen to the top 10 list on the radio, or actually streaming online, you can still do it. WVLP.org is the website, and the show will be on the air Wednesday, July 8th, 10 p.m. U.S. Central, and then a replay the following Sunday at 8. My top 10 Styx songs are in the second hour. The first hour is new stuff by Mike Lapon's Silent Assassins, and new Primal Fear, new Amaranth, and then some oldies but goodies from bands like Iron Maiden and Ed Guy. And then, of course, 10 Styx songs in the second half of the show. But here I'm going to lay out my grabbing order of Styx albums when it's time to listen to Styx, which ones am I least to most likely to want to pull out digitally or analog, whatever, and then also that top 10 list of favorite songs. So Styx has 15 studio albums. The most recent is The Mission from 2017, and that's actually, that's 3 years ago. Duh, I don't need to tell you that. But it doesn't seem like it was that long ago when it came out. I would have guessed 2018, maybe even early 2019. It doesn't seem like it's been out for 3 years already, but I guess so. All right. As you all know, Dennis DeYoung doesn't perform with them anymore. He's off doing his own thing, but Tommy Shaw and James Young have been out and about with Lawrence Gowan taking Dennis DeYoung's place, and Ricky Blank from the Babies, Rick Phillips. I'm drawing a blank on his name. I'm not sure. And Todd Sucherman on drums. So here comes number 15, the Styx album that I'm the least likely to grab when it's time to listen to Styx, and that would be Edge of the Century from 1990. Now, the last couple of albums that Dennis DeYoung was on, Edge of the Century and also Brave New World, are a little different than the earlier albums that Dennis DeYoung was on, not only in the fact that they're not as good, but just that the material that they write and perform doesn't mesh together as well. So these two albums are more like mini solo albums put together into one large Styx album, where you go, okay, here is the Dennis DeYoung song, and boy, that's a Dennis DeYoung song, and here is the JY song, James Young song, that's the heavy rocker, and here's the Tommy Shaw song, and they're so much more distinct than they used to be on both of these albums. Show Me the Way is on this, and that's one of my favorite Dennis DeYoung songs, and Home Wrecker is one of my favorite JY songs, but altogether, this album just doesn't hold up for me. There's a pretty good song on there called World Tonight, which does sort of gel nicely, but it sounds like something they may have borrowed from REO Speedwagon. I'm watching my camera wobble as I put my hands on the table, so maybe I shouldn't do that. Edge of the Century from 1990, my least favorite Styx album. Coming in next is Cyclorama from 2003. This is another one where it's a collection of, okay, it's this person's song or this person's song. It's just now we have Lawrence Gowan in the mix too, to help do some songs. This particular album, at least the Tommy Shaw songs, sound like leftovers from his Shaw and Blade solo project. They don't actually sound a whole lot like Styx. But, Kiss Your Ass Goodbye is a fun tune. Together, JY's Captain America is good. One with Everything. These songs are all right, but again, it's not really a very strong offering. Although at the time, people that were desperate for Styx probably found good things to like in it. At number 13, I will put Kilroy Was Here. This one is an odd beast because I remember when it came out, I bought it, I loved it, I went to the tour. Kilroy Was Here 10, 15 years ago. If you'd asked me, I would have said, I don't get all the hate, I love this album, I'm going to put it way up here. But when I sit here and I listen to a lot of Styx in a short amount of time to put this list together, down it goes, to the point where there's so many other good songs written by all these people on different albums that are better. I appreciate, the concept album sort of appeal, but just as a listening experience, it's not holding up for me anymore. And number 12, Brave New World from 1999. Again, sort of a mix of solo albums. It's interesting to compare Styx to, say, Triumph, where you have the Rick Emmett songs and the Gilmore songs, and you can tell which is which because they're in totally different styles. They have different vocalists. Same thing with Tommy Young, James Young, Dennis DeYoung. Blue Oyster Cult, right? The Buck Dharma songs stand out from the rest because, to me, a lot of them are better, and he sings them, so they sound a little bit different. But in that case, those songs gel with the surroundings so much better, like they did on earlier Styx albums. On Brave New World, I Will Be Your Witness, the lead track by Tommy Shaw, is really, really good. Fallen Angel, Dennis DeYoung's song, Heavy Water, James Young's contribution to the heavy world. Those, there are good songs on it, but again, very hit or miss. At number 11, I'm going to put The Mission from 2017. I know a lot of people like this album, and I like this album, but to me, it's first of all, it's really short, which, okay, that's not that bad of a thing, but there's too many interludes, and my interest sort of wanes in and out, right? To me, there's 3 really standout good songs on this. Gone, 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 Red Storm, and then the closing track, The Outpost. Gone, 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 they've played on stage. It's like 2 minutes long. It's half a song, but it's a song. So I really like the overall concept of it, kind of like Kilroy was here. I get along well with concept albums, but my interest does not get held through the entirety of The Mission. It's got high points and then too many short interludes type songs. At number 10, I will put Styx 2 from 1973. You Need Love, the kickoff track is great. Father OSA, the Earl of Roseland, is really good. There's a song on here called A Day, which was a John, so try to say this, Kuralewski song. It's wonderful. It's nice and long, 7 or 8 minutes. It's a jam song. It's got a really good extended instrumental section to it. It is so very not the Styxy Styx that everybody got to know and love, but it doesn't sound like Styx because it's early Styx, and then it sort of is a little different beast than everything that came after. But it's still fun to listen to. I don't need to hear Lady anymore. I know it's a concert staple and a radio staple, and people harp on Styx getting cheesy, and they point to Babe as the song why everything is cheesy, but Lady was around in 1973, and really, what's the difference between Lady and Babe? I'm not sure. Number 9, The Serpent is Rising from 1973 as well. This is a really good heavy 70s rock album. Witch Wolf is a good song. The Grove of Eglantine, Winner Take All. And of course, if you had the vinyl, the closing 2-minute track, Plexiglass Toilet, which doesn't appear on the track listing, and it doesn't appear on any track listings to this day, really, even when you look up digitally. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just go to YouTube and search Styx Plexiglass Toilet, and you're gonna be in for a treat. But that was a fun record, and with that song A Day that came on the previous album, and then this really heavy 70s rock. They kind of the band was going in one direction, but they got drugged back the other way eventually, and it would have really been interesting to see if they went on this trajectory from Styx 2 to Serpent is Rising, and they followed that trajectory. Where would they have been 3 or 4 albums later? But something happened in between The Serpent is Rising. They must have changed their brand of distilled water or something, because the follow-up album, Man of Miracles, is a whole different ballgame. Not quite there yet, because between those two, number 9 was The Serpent is Rising. Number 8 is their debut, Styx, from 1972. This album certainly ends on a very wittily progressive note. It opens on a long progressive track, Fanfare for the Common, or Movement for the Common Man. Especially Kind of like the 8-minute on portion of that song is great. What Has Come Between Us is a good one. Quick as the Beat of My Heart is among several of these really fast toe tapping rockers that they have on their early albums. That's great. 7, Man of Miracles from 1974. Now there we go. That partner to I think of it as a partner with The Serpent is Rising, not only because they've been re-released as a package, here's 2 albums in one kind of thing, but they were similar in, album release, because was it the Wooden Nickel recordings is what they're called, on the Best of Styx album that came out right after Man of Miracles. I had that on vinyl, and there was a good representation from these 2 records. So for whatever reason, they're always a package to me in my head. At number 6, Equinox from 1975. I used to love spinning this one on vinyl back when I had this vinyl. You may have heard my sad story about the Great Basement Flood of 2000, whatever it was, that spoiled my record collection. So that's sad, but I always liked it. Lorelei and Mother Dear, Midnight Ride, Bored for Adventure. I think, because I came into Styx at Cornerstone, that was my first Styx album, I was a little bit more ready for the polished, bombastic, pompous Broadway Styx. And Equinox was a little bit more dirty, right? Dirty rock and roll. So it was always fun to listen to that as contrast. Number 5, Crystal Ball from 1976. Put Me On, Mademoiselle, Claire de Lune, and Ballerina is good. Although maybe one of the reasons this album isn't farther up is because the last. This actually happens on a few albums where the ending track it's a long, whittly outro to the album, not so much a meaty song. Paradise Theater at number 4 from 1981. A lot of the songs on this one, to me, is in terms of which ones are my favorite, not have flip-flopped over the years. Rockin' the Paradise used to be probably my very, very favorite Styx song, at least for a while, but I listen to it now, and I'm, during the chorus, the background vocals are kind of high-pitched and squeaky for me, and I don't like Dennis DeYoung putting on his circus ringmaster voice during the song. But Nothing Ever Goes as Planned is terrific. It's one nobody's ever heard if all they do is listen to the radio. She Cares, Snowblind, and then JY's Halfpenny, Twopenny. That's always a good one to rock out to. Coming into the top 3, number 3 is Cornerstone from 1979. My very first experience to Styx. I remember buying the album, and it had that tri-fold open-up deal to it, which was great. This is another one where the ones I really used to love versus the ones that are my favorites now have totally inverted themselves. Lights, well, okay, that one's always been one of my favorites, but back in the day I was all about Never Say Never and Babe and Why Me, and now I'm more all about Boat on the River and Eddie and Love in the Midnight. By the way, note to people who write lyrics, such as the opening line in Borrowed Time off of this album, you probably shouldn't timestamp your lyrics by saying things like, don't look now, here come the 80s, because when people are listening to it in 2020, it sounds really cheesy. There's probably a clip right there, because as I was talking about my top 2, I was just getting myself totally mangled. So I'm starting over. Pieces of 8 at number 2 in 1978, and so now you know that my number 1 is The Grand Illusion from 1977. These two were released back to back. They are, to me, they're very, very similar in their sound. They're a nice package together. If you took half of one and half of the other and put them together, you probably would have had one of the best albums in rock and roll. And you might argue that these two albums are still some of the best albums in rock and roll. On Pieces of 8, pretty much every song is awesome, although the way the second side sort of fades off into nothing, I'm not a big fan of that. But I'm Okay, Sing for the Day is one of these songs that has always been in the background, and now when I listen to it, it rises to being one of my favorite. And then you've got that 1, 2, 3 punch of Blue Collar Man, Queen of Spades, and Renegade on the second side. I mean, how good does that get? And then Grand Illusion at number 1. Again, the problem with the sort of the fade out of that second side, at the end, the second side is what I would call it 3.5 songs, right? Not 4, but the last 3 minutes of Castle Walls makes up for that, because boy, is that some good proggy rock that lots of people probably haven't heard. This one, I would say that side 1 is one of the best side 1s in rock and roll altogether. And yes, Come Sail Away closes out that side. And yes, it's overplayed. It's, like put Bohemian Rhapsody on a shelf and put Come Sail Away on a shelf and just kind of appreciate them for what they are, even if you don't listen to them anymore. But sometimes pop culture gets it right. It's a great tune. And so there's my preference ranking of all 15 Styx albums. I'm looking at my time, and I've babbled for almost 20 minutes. There will probably be a couple of chops in there, like I said, as I realized I was getting myself tangled up. But I hope it made sense, because I'm not going to redo this. And now let me pause and switch over to my top 10 favorite Styx songs. Alrighty, let's see if we can get through this pretty quickly, since I babbled on a long time about the preference rankings. But I mean, they have 15 CDs. That's going to take a while, right? Maybe this is a video I should have split into. I started splitting my videos into back when I first started making these things, but then it was easier just to keep the rankings in the top 10 together. So if you're still watching this, thanks for sticking around for that long. As played on Mostly Metal, I got to get in my show plug, right? Mostly Metal, WVLP, Valparaiso, Indiana. If you're in Valpo, it's 103.1 FM, but none of you are, I'm sure. And you can get it on WVLP.org. So this Wednesday, July 8th, the show starts at 10 p.m. U.S. Central. By 11 p.m., I'll be playing my top 10 favorite songs by Styx, so you can catch them then, or also Sunday night during the replay of the show, which starts at 8 p.m. I sort of cheated at number 10 here for this list, because I've got 10 and 10B. So I decided I needed to start this list with a representative of those kind of short 3-minute, just hit you in the face rock and roll songs that they put on a lot of the early albums. And so I've chosen You Need Love from Styx 2 to represent those in spot number 10. Now 10B, if somebody said, sorry, that song is not available for your list for whatever reason, I would say, fine, I'm going to put in Rock and Roll Feeling from Man of Miracles with no hesitation whatsoever. They're both equally good. I think I would just give a hair of a nudge to You Need Love off of Styx 2, and so that one's my number 10. At number 9, I'll put Rockin' the Paradise off of Paradise Theater. As I mentioned earlier, back in the day, that song, well, many days ago, that song would have been higher in this list, but as time's gone on and I listen to it, I start getting, it's like one of those, like right now the fan is blowing my hair and it's tickling the side of my head. It's just these little micro annoyances in the song that when I hear them now, they kind of pull me out of it, and so I don't enjoy it quite as much as I used to. Mother Dear off of Equinox. This is a song that if I think about the track list of Equinox, I'm very likely to forget that it's even there, but then when I put the album on and I hear especially the middle part of that song and the chorus, I'm like, yeah, this is good stuff. And in fact, I would say it's my favorite off of that album. At number 7, The Grove of Eglantine off of The Serpent is Rising. Again, really good melodic riffy parts in that song. If you make it through the first 30 seconds until it really kicks in, then you've got some rock and roll gold from that point. And this has become my favorite song off of The Serpent is Rising. As I'm naming these songs, you might wonder, is this really a top 10? Is this really the Styx's 10 best songs? I'm like, I don't know. I thought about that too. If I took their just absolute best of the best 10, I might only be pulling songs off of 2 or 3 albums, you know. So I would say this is more of the best representative songs from Styx, and I'm trying to give some representation to the older albums too. But now that we've passed number 7 of the Grove of Eglantine, now we're ready for the mid-era, really good stuff. That's all it's going to be from here on out. At number 6, I'll put Boat on the River off of Cornerstone. Back when I was first into Styx as a teenager, Lights would have been my number 1 favorite song for probably a decade. I just love that song. I still do. But as I listen to it and I get to Boat on the River, that song just, it makes me so happy. I do know why. It's a great song. And so, okay, it wasn't pop. It wasn't on the radio much. I don't know that they ever play it. Maybe they play it in concert. I don't know. I've only seen them a couple of times. But boy, is it good songwriting. I'd put that song up against any other acoustic track from any rock and roll band out there. Number 5. Okay, here we get to where, yes, pop culture has got it right, because these are not only my favorite songs, these are probably some of the ones that have the heaviest airplay. Number 5, Blue Collar Man off of Pieces of 8. Just a great rock and roller. 4, Come Sail Away off of The Grand Illusion. I might go through these quick, because what else is there to say about these songs that everybody already knows so well? Yeah, it's a cheesy song, but I love the idea of flying away in an alien ship. I love that South Park used it. It's a cheesy tune, and I still love it. I don't care what anybody says. Number 3, Renegade off of Pieces of 8. The chuggy guitars here just get me every single time. Number 2, Crystal Ball, the title track off of Crystal Ball, Tommy Shaw's first contribution to the band, and man, did it set the stage for some good things to come. And then number 1, Foolin' Yourself off of The Grand Illusion. You can tell from this list that, you know, if I had to pick one songwriter from Styx as my favorite songwriter, it's Tommy Shaw. I put him up there with Rick Emmett and with Buck Dharma. I mentioned those two guys in the first half of this video as, so, you know, key songwriters whose songs populate some of the discography of a bigger band. It's not just a solo project, but for whatever reason, the songs that these people contribute are generally leagues above and beyond the other stuff that comes out. As I was growing up, you know, even when I liked Kilroy was here, I probably would have put Dennis DeYoung as my favorite Styx songwriter, but as I've gotten older, and you know, I don't know what age does too in your musical taste, but Tommy Shaw has become my favorite Styx songwriter, and then I would put James Young, and then I would put Dennis DeYoung. And that doesn't mean I don't like the Dennis DeYoung stuff. It's just sort of inverted in terms of which are my favorites of the favorites. I mean, hey, Come Sail Away is in this list, for God's sakes, right? Okay, so there is my top 10 favorite songs by Styx, done very fast. Hope it was worth it to stick around for this long. And next week, my top 10 favorite songs and my preference ranking by Camelot.